and welcome to WRPB and WRPB Studios. You know, I really have to say it's so important to know certain facts about things that you do when you live in the hurricane capital of the world. So I had this thought of, I don't think most of you really understand what's going on with insurance companies and roofs. So with me is Blake Cap from Cap's Roofing. Did I get it right?
Right.
You have an easy name, so it's pretty easy. You have to see some of the names I get. Sometimes it's so hard, I go, I have the greatest guest in the world. I'm going to let them introduce themselves because I can't pronounce their last name. Okay. How long are you in the roofing industry?
We'll be celebrating 30 years
Wow.
In January. So,
Why did you choose that industry?
well, my brothers and I had the opportunity to start a roofing company out of Hurricane Andrew in 1992.
Okay.
We had been working some with a roofing company down in Miami, and we were doing well with it then, and we thought, well, maybe we should just start our own. So that's what we did.
You were doing roofs, but for a company.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you start this company, and was it, and I want to make sure I get this right, was it easier to do roofing then than it is today?
I would say it was, yes. There have been many code changes that have made roofing more time-consuming and more expensive. Those are some of the major changes that we've seen over the last 30 years.
And I know insurance rules and regulations have changed, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And we lost a lot of insurance companies that don't want to insure down here.
Right.
And it's ironic that they'll take your money until they have to pay out, and they don't want to be here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's insurance companies, as I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a bunch of different kind of roofs.
Mm-hmm.
What do you believe is the most secure roof that one can get?
Well, I often tell a lot of people they're all good roofs if they're put on well.
Okay.
And most people in residential roofing these days in our region go with asphalt shingles or concrete tile or metal roofs. And the old cedar shake roofs are kind of out of style.
Are they really?
Right. Very few people go with it now because they were very popular back in the 80s, and a lot of people went with them then. What we found out was they're very expensive and they don't last here because of the high heat and humidity. And a cedar shake roof lasts about as long as an asphalt shingle roof, and an asphalt shingle roof is a whole lot less money than a cedar shake roof.
Okay, so I get that. What I heard, and I don't know how correct it is that a barrel roof is really not the roof. It's really the covering over it. Is that correct?
Right. With concrete tile roofs, water seeps in the cracks on a tile roof and drips down on the underlayment beneath the tiles. So the tiles are cosmetic, and they also have another function where they protect the underlayment from the sun. Those are the functions of the actual tiles, but the underlayment is really what keeps you dry.
That's really the roof, is the underlayment.
Right.
You know, I'm starting to see a lot more metal roofs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I see some of the value, and then some things kind of make me curious.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it rains, because we live in Florida, they're pretty noisy. Yes, no.
Well, that's not. There are people who ask about that, and I think they're thinking about old barns that they were in when they were kids, where they had open rafters and no insulation. Metal roofs are really not noisy in people's homes when they have a drop ceiling and insulation in the attic. So noise is not really a factor. As to longevity of a metal roof, there aren't too many 30 and 40-year-old ones for us to look at.
Okay.
The big thought would be, are they ultimately going to rust? And they seem to be holding up really well. Most of them are what they call galvalume. Galvalume is a galvanized panel with an aluminum finish on it, and that aluminum finish seems to be extending the value of and the longevity of metal roofs quite a bit. And there's reason to believe they'll last a long time. But like I said, there aren't too many of 30 and 40-year-old ones for us to look at to see how they're going to do in the long run. So I would say, though, with metal roofs, there's an additional benefit, in my judgment, on wind uplift. I think it's, if you look at what happened in the recent hurricane in West Florida, I'm getting reports that the metal roofs did much better than other types of roofs. The shingles and the metal and the concrete tile are all Florida Building Code approved, so they've all been tested to a certain standard. But I think metal roofs would probably do better in your Cat 4 and Cat 5 storms than some of the other kinds of roofs.
Well, when you look at a shingle roof, I mean, and I'm not a roofer, nor do I. That's why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
I see the wind being able to get underneath them and lift them up, and they roll over the yard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, especially if they're brittle.
Mm-hmm.
That really is going to be hard to happen with a metal roof.
Right. A lot of the shingle roofs that we saw blow off in 04 and 05 were old, brittle roofs, and that were put on with staples rather than roofing nails. They have higher standards now. The shingles are actually made better than they used to be made. They have really good self-sealing strips on them, and we put 6 nails in per shingle instead of 4 nails in per shingle, and we use nails instead of staples. So shingles do quite well in Cat 2s and 3s. We really haven't experienced a Cat 5 here.
Knock wood.
The question would be how are shingle roofs going to do in superstorms, and that's, I think, one of the differences.
I mean, there's so many factors when you talk about a superstorm. A roof is just a part of it. There is trees and doors and windows. I mean, there's so much when you're talking about a superstorm. I've heard that the insurance companies are cutting down the life expectancy of a roof. Is that true? Well,
there had been some attempts recently where insurance companies were sending letters to people, some of them at the 20-year mark, and saying that your asphalt shingle roof needed to be replaced or we're going to cancel you at the 20-year mark. And then we had gotten some reports where some insurance companies had reduced that down to 15 years, where some people were getting roofs or letters at the 15-year mark saying you must replace your shingle roof or we're going to cancel you. Just recently, I think it was about 6 or 8 months ago, the Florida legislature passed new roofing rules. And one of the rules was that an insurance company cannot force someone to get a new roof after 15 years if a qualified person, like an engineer or a roofing contractor, fills out a roof condition form and attaches photographs stating that the roof's still in good shape. So you can't be forced now to replace your roof at the 15-year mark. And as I understand it, even at the 20-year mark, assuming that you have someone who is willing to sort of back the roof with their letter.
Is there a way that people can take better care of their roofs, for argument's sake? We have a car. We do oil changes. And what can we do to our roof to make it last longer?
When it comes to shingles, metal, and tile, there's not a whole lot to be done to them. Most people might get them pressure washed if they get mold on them, but that's really for cosmetic purposes. There's not a whole lot to do to them. Other than keep them clean.
That's the top layer, but the roof is still a roof, and people are worried about the whole roof coming off. How is a roof held to the house? Okay, and I guess it's clipped down. Is that how it's held down?
Right. I think what you're talking about is what they call strapping.
Okay.
Which is the metal straps that are attached to the roof trusses to the walls of the house. And that has become an issue on a lot of roofs because many of them were not strapped well back when they were built in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And it can be a code issue for really expensive homes that are over $300,000 in value on the property appraiser's website. Then if you have inferior straps, you actually have to fix them as part of the re-roof job. If the house is under $300,000 in value, then it's actually an option.
That's rare.
It's not a code issue. It's an insurance issue. You might still want to have it done if you have problems with your straps, so that you can get another insurance credit.
Okay. So you've been in the industry a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do commercial and residential, or you just do residential? How many? I mean, what kind of different?
We're kind of the neighborhood roofers. We work from Boca to Vero, and we kind of service whatever comes in on the phone. We're
Okay.
interested in everything. If you have 2 shingles missing, we're interested in helping you. And if you want a whole roof, we do plenty of those as well. So re-roofs and repairs. We do commercial and residential. But most of what comes in for us is residential.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I see, you look at commercial buildings, and a lot of them are just like kind of flat, plain roofs, which just, I guess, get, I don't know the industry, tar paper,
Mm-hmm.
and then tarred over. Like, does that still happen?
Right. Well, tar paper is kind of going out of style as well. They make a self-adhering underlayments that stick directly to the plywood, and when you put that on, you get another insurance credit for what is called secondary water barrier protection. So most people want that, even though you don't have to use it. You can use the black tar paper if you want. But most people want the self-adhering underlayments these days, regardless of whether you're going with shingles or a metal or a tile, so that you get that extra insurance credit.
Well, that's interesting, because I remember I have one investment property, and I had some shingle issues, and I actually had a critter that chewed through the shingles
Mm-hmm.
and through the wood.
Mm-hmm.
And when they patched it, I bought, I guess, tar paper, big roll of tar paper, and I used that. And I'm like, well, how does that hold down? But I guess, do you like glue that down?
Right. Tar paper is held down with like nails and tin tags or plastic top fasteners. You nail it to the roof.
Okay.
And the self-adhering underlayments have a skin sheet on the back of them that you pull off, and it sticks to the plywood. So the theory of that is that if you have a hurricane that is able to blow off some of the shingles or the metal roof panels, you have an underlayment that is still stuck to the plywood, and will offer you protection during the storm.
Okay, we're getting to the top of time. How do people find you? You have a phone number?
Yes, 772-545-3442.
And your website, I know that.
Right, capsroofing.com.
If you had to give one tip for somebody who has to replace their roof, what would it be when it comes to, get a bow roof, get a tile roof, get a metal roof? I mean, what do you think is the best?
Right. Well, most people who go with concrete tile roofs are people who already had one, and they're tearing one off and putting one back on to make the house look similar to what it was before. Or they are people who live in homeowners associations that require them. Those are usually the people who are going for tile roofs. Tile roofs are rather costly, and they have some other challenges associated with them as of late, namely how long it takes to get the concrete tiles. That's become a real problem. It takes about 3 or 4 months to get the tiles, so that's going to be the roof that takes the longest to get done. And as far as metal roofs go, they have become extremely popular, Many people are tearing off shingle roofs and putting on metal roofs. Some people tear off their tile roofs and put on metal roofs as well.
As long as you're not in an HOA, you're good to go.
Right. And some of the HOAs are now allowing the metal roofs as an alternative. Many HOAs have resisted that over the years and want people to continue to go with tile roofs, but they've become so popular that many of the boards of directors for the homeowners associations have had to change the rules because that's what their residents want. So they're very popular for resale, and the shingle roof still has its place because it's the most economical as well. So there's still a place for shingle roofs. We still do plenty of them, and they're fairly popular as well. But
Cool. Real quick, phone number again?
772-545-3442.
And the website?
capsroofing.com.
Two P's in caps.
There you go. There you go.
Everybody.
And
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
one other thing, if you want to see a lot of our roofs, just go on our Caps Roofing Facebook page.
Okay.
We take drone pictures of most of our roofs, and you can see hundreds of our roof jobs on that page.
You know, guys, I say it, and I said it many times, always use a professional. If you don't, it's going to cost you 5 times more money and 10 times more aggravation. Everybody check out Caps Roofing, and we'll be right back. Thank you so much.
Thank you.